Today I'm going to show you how to build a house for a T-Rex as well as the rest of the enclosure. This is our first ever enclosure I've ever made on sandbox mode. As you see in the background, I'm trying to get it to the right shape, and we are on the island generated map. Good evening, park managers, and welcome back to the channel. So we started putting our basis of the enclosure down. What I'm going to do now is hide the back fence with a brick wall. Not necessary, you could just do the fence up to it. At first I was just testing things out. As you can see, this is, like I said, my first ever build, so yeah, pretty exciting time for me this was. And I hide the fence with the wall, and we're going to be building this enclosure exactly onto this viewing gallery. So if you ever want to have this T-Rex house inside of your enclosures, all you have to do is go to the viewing gallery and then go and find it in the workshop for the viewing galleries there, as it is just a complete structure, and it gives a decent view as well as looking quite nice just attached to the enclosure. As well, I left a space to put the enclosure gate there, which then allows obviously the staff to come through here, and it just feels really part of the building, a place where the staff can lock the T-Rexes in if they have to do any maintenance to the enclosure itself. It just adds that little bit of storytelling, and yeah, I had a lot of fun. As you see, I spent a while trying to find bits I thought would really make the edge and stuff like that, just to kind of get a feel for everything. So there's a lot of building materials, and they do kind of feel like, not, I wouldn't say all over the place, but it's a lot harder to navigate, especially if you're after certain materials. Something I would suggest doing, which I haven't done here but I've done in many other builds, is I find all the materials I feel like I will need for the build, and I place them down, and then I just duplicate them as I'm going along, rather than keep going back and forth to the menu, scrolling up and down, trying to find the bits that I actually want. And then obviously if I do want some extra bits, it's not too bad. I can go here and there and find some extra bits and pieces. So as you can tell, the park building is very much like Planet Zoo or Planet Coaster. If you've come from one of those games, you'll feel quite comfortable from this, but I feel like it has enough like little bits and pieces to definitely like know it's its own game, that it's an evolution game, and the bits and pieces look very evolution. Obviously right now what I'm doing on the inside, we are building a second area where you can lock the T-Rexes up, and this is where I am going to put a nesting ground. Now you may have noticed I'm not actually putting a floor down. So when I was testing things out, I noted that you can't place dinosaurs on foundations or anything like that. It has to be on the natural ground. So in my head I was like, oh, then in that case it's quite possibly they might not go into the building itself, and so I just didn't put a floor down. So I just used like sand and dirt to brush down. It's like when you go into like some like elephant houses, it's not just straight up concrete, it's like, you know, sand, it's dirt, and there's a good reason for that. It really helps with the feet. It's like natural enrichment, and not only that, like I said, with the helping of the feet, this is something that is quite recognized in birds, especially in captivity, making sure they have the right substrate for them. There was a big study like on flamingos a few years ago on substrate and how it affects the feet. So it's just like a little bit of extra lore building into this build, and it just makes it feel a bit more realistic, a bit more storytelling to it. As you see right now, I'm doing the roof. I'm adding like different like structures to it. So obviously I'm going to say the roof is fairly weak, so they have the staff walking platforms whenever they need to do maintenance up there, so they don't fall through the roof and end up being a T-Rex snack. And then I just decorate the outside of this building a little bit. I really wanted to keep that kind of rustic kind of, it is a zoo building. Like not every zoo building is 100% decorated. It's not always fancy. There will be just breeze block, and then it's the entrance to that kind of viewing area that's slightly fancied up, and that's what I wanted to do here, because obviously it's a big building. I know in Jurassic World and Jurassic Park and spare no expense, but you don't have to constantly spare no expense. You can do a little bit of budgeting here and there, and that's what I was just doing here. I made this just really pretty area of the statues, used different types of flowers and plants on the outside just to make it look interesting and pretty, so it wasn't just completely just a brick building, because obviously I want to place this in probably other parks, and that's the best thing about workshop items. You don't have to use exactly what you are given. You can place it down as a basis and then just change what you want to change, you know, if it's different colors, different textures, and the world's your oyster with that kind of game, or you can just keep it the same. I'm going to call this the T-Rex Den, and I decided to go and give it those dim colours because I really like the contrast of blue and yellow here. So we're going to make the resting enclosure now that we've completed the house. I really wanted like a little waterfall area with a big pond, so it's like fresh running water. I can imagine T-Rex being very dribbly with its kind of diet. It's probably not going to have the nicest of mouths, so obviously that water is going to get dirty quite quickly. And instead of constantly locking up the T-Rexes so the staff can get in there safely, and this is obviously storytelling again, we are going to have like a filtration system, and that's also the good reason for putting like the waterfall in there, forces oxygen into the water, and we're just doing like a bit of a pipe system. Now in most cases you would have this hidden, but I really like the rustic kind of look of just pipes being everywhere. So this is what's going to be operating the waterfall. The water comes in on this pipe, and then the pipe we just built comes out to the top pond, and that's what keeps the water flowing. And you can just imagine this building even being a filter room with full of filters that clean the water, so the T-Rex constantly has fresh, clean water to drink. As you can imagine, it gulps a lot, and like I said, you can imagine it polluting the water a fair bit if it was just a stagnant pond, which means you would have to send people in there more often to go and clean. Again, storytelling is what really does make this game pop and last a lot longer for you. If you're not one of those kind of people, then you don't have to do any of this. I just enjoy doing this stuff. This is what makes the game extremely fun for me. And then we're just going to try and camouflage up this bit using the like flower beds that are on the side of this shelter building, just to kind of hide it a little bit into the rocks, make it feel a bit more natural, make it so the T-Rex don't pay too much attention to it. But again, I had a lot of fun making this. This is my first ever enclosure that I made within Jurassic World Evolution 3. Obviously the game is out now, so you can all enjoy this as much as I've been enjoying this, and I will leave a little affiliate code down below, or a link should I say, so if you don't have the game you can have a chance to get it, and it also supports me as a creator. But as always, thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this, and you can find this build in the workshop, and as always, till next time, I'll see you later.